So it wasn't so much Jesus fucking Christ. I'm trying to have a serious conversation here. I've got cat ass in my face.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 592 of the Dead Robot Society. I'm Terry Mixon. Joining me, Paul E. Cooley, and every cat in my house.
Boy, isn't that the truth.
It's been that truth so far. Everybody's come up here to
For
get
the
a little
patrons
look.
drinking at home, you've already seen quite a few cats.
Mm-hmm. You're already pretty sloshed.
Yeah, it's a bad time. It's a bad time. Shall we recount the horror story of the week?
Why not? So, Paul, how's your week been?
Oh my God. My week was relatively stress-free. I didn't lose electricity. So we never lost heat. I had one burst pipe, but that was Wednesday. It's already fixed to a certain extent.
It's already capped anyway.
Yeah, it's already capped. Various values of fixed. Got a lot of sheetrock to tear out in the garage to get all that shit out of there. And that's pretty much about it for me. However, my folks had no power for 37 hours, my sister for 40 hours. And while my parents aren't under a boil water order, my sister is. And, like a lot of people, they had a burst pipe as well. Food go bad, things like that. So it's been quite the week. And my 80-year-old parents went to sleep in 42 degrees at their house while it was 12 degrees outside or something like that, and had on every ski jacket, sweater, long johns, every quilt and everything else, and they were still cold as shit. So it was not a good fucking week. But I did get to see 3 or 4 inches of snow in on my house. I had a snowdrift in my fucking sunroom. Not a big one, but an honest to God fucking snowdrift. And this was powder snow. This wasn't the wet shit we usually get when we get it. This stuff was dry. Oh, it's just fucking bonkers. So yeah, it's been a really interesting week to say the least.
Should have dug out your skis and, went down the street.
There was one day, the day of the first hard freeze, after it had been raining, because we had to have rain first because that makes everything better. I remember waking up the next morning, looking out there, and it was a winter wonderland. Every car that left this driveway was sliding around, and you hear that god-awful crunching sound of tires on ice. And I was like flashing back to Colorado and going, where the fuck am I?
You're not in the lodge, man.
And then the kids across the street, their dad took them out there at like 10 in the morning, and they were making a snowman. I was like, holy shit. Oh, God. So yeah, it's been a little unreal. Probably most of the plants in my front yard and backyard are dead. I'm probably going to have to spend a lot of time getting rid of stuff like that. I do have some water damaged things I have to throw away, but overall, I got off pretty light. I got off really light.
I'm happy for you. It's good that you came out pretty light on that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. How about you?
Let's see. Our power went out Sunday night. Maybe it was early Monday morning. I don't know exactly what time it was. And through Wednesday evening, we had maybe 4 hours of power scattered through there in little bits and dribs. We had a pipe where the piping in our house froze, first of all, and we had one pipe break that didn't get replaced with PEX like everything else in the house did. The plumber will be taking care of that since he was paid for a full repipe. I have no doubt that he will make the magic happen. The interior refrigerator freezer was out of power long enough to where all the food in it went bad. So it'll be replaced. It's going to have to be replaced as well. What else? We're under a boil water notice, so that's exciting. We've only got the only hot water we have in the house because of the broken pipe is in the downstairs shower.
Lovely.
Yeah, pretty much. They say that they probably won't have the water back to a non-boil water state until early next week.
Like most of Texas, as a matter of fact, seems like.
Yeah, it kind of does. And sadly, I'm not sure if it's the water pressure, but even in the downstairs shower, the hot water does not seem to be getting as hot as I think it maybe should. So there may be damage to the hot water heater that ends up having to have it replaced. I don't know that yet. Something I'll bring up with the plumber when he comes out with his crew next week, which he expedited to me because, well, yeah, that's what one does, right?
Ay. So all in all, pretty shitty week.
I wrote today. That's the first time I've written since this disaster has come around because A, no power, or B, busy doing other things.
Yeah, like trying to survive.
I've still got other things I need to do around the house. It's just it's hard to get back into the sleeping normal and actually have, your brain in the right place to write. So between taking a week to get my website all taken care of and then this, it's been like 2 weeks out of this month, which is not that long to begin with, that I have not been writing. So it's not going to be the world's most productive month.
Yeah, I had no internet, so I was extremely bored off my ass. And I've had no internet since last Saturday. We just got it fixed last night, or yesterday morning, rather. So it's been fucked up for a while. But because I had no internet, I couldn't do any of my development stuff. So I spent a lot of time, rambling around the house, doing stuff, reading, thinking.
Reading books. Real books.
And writing. So I am finishing up I keep saying that. I found
like 4 weeks you've been finishing up. I'm not sure I believe you.
I keep finding threads I have to close off. God damn it. It's continuity, man. This fucking epic space battle. It's like, oh fuck, I forgot about these two characters. Where do they end up?
It's
oh
just,
fuck, I forgot about this character. Where do they end up?
That is exactly like what one of my other writer friends posted today. He said, I'm only 8,000 words away from finishing this story. Beta reader. Oh, so how are you going to close off subplot A, B, and C? I'm only 15,000 words from finishing this story.
And I completely rewrote the ending and all that came on there. So I basically threw away about 3,000 words and rewrote all that. And I think it's a lot better for the rewrite. Because when I first wrote it, I don't think I knew where I was going, but now I've got an idea of how to do all this. So that's what I did. Once I get this thread closed off, there's one more big scene I got to do. And then it's denouement. Not epilogue, but denouement. And the denouement is going to take a while. But I've written quite a bit of it. I'm going to have to go back and edit a few things to match what has happened here. But I have the framework for how this is going to end. So I'm happy. I think if I buckle down this week, I could have it done for my second draft.
Good deal.
And I keep cycling, so it should be pretty clean. At least the last 30,000 words should be pretty clean. I think the first 30,000, I'm going to have to, there's some shit I got to fix, but it's going to be much better. So while you have not been productive, I have been productive.
Well, this is a good thing. I'm glad somebody's productive. And folks, this is Romeo. He's got a skin infection, and he's had the cone of shame on for a month.
The cone of shame. Romeo, therefore out there, Romeo. Thou art really pissed.
He's just an unhappy cat because he wants his loves and he can't get it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have any idea that I'm podcasting. He just hears me talking.
Yeah. And there's one more thing I did today. Or actually, I did it last night. I killed a character. I'm not going to say which one, but I killed a character.
Douche nozzle, man.
I actually killed 4 characters this week. Now that I think about it, but I killed one. Excuse me, really important one, and I feel no shame. I think it was a good way for that character to go out. I think it made sense, and it where it happens in the sequence of events is really going to get people wondering who's going to make it out alive, which is good. But this character getting iced will set something else up for after. So I'm pleased. Well, so not too long. I'll have this goddamn albatross out from under my neck. Out from under my neck, out from around my neck. If you don't know the reference, go read Rime of the Ancient Mariner and get a life. Get some history, for crying out loud. At least go listen to the Iron Maiden song. You'll get an idea.
And just remember, folks, you're hoist on your petard, not by it. Okay.
What is a petard?
It's a siege weapon used to break a wall.
Battering ram.
Actually, I think it's explosive.
Now I have to look this up. Heard the phrase, but a small bomb made of metal or a wooden box filled with powder used to blast down a door or make a hole in a wall. Huh. Okay. A typical petard was a conical or rectangular metal device containing 2 to 3 kilograms of gunpowder with a slow match for a fuse. Gotcha. I built 1 or 2 of those in my time. When I was 12. BBSs were a terrible place for really, really bad ideas back then.
You know, that's a really great way to lead into. Let me put Mr. Romeo down, see if he comes back up again. He's come up a few times already. He doesn't know I'm podcasting. Not to say we're talking about bad decisions, but the conversation we had earlier makes it clear that everybody goes about their decision-making process in ways that are mysterious to the rest of us. Sometimes it's mysterious to the point of going, what the fuck was he thinking? Where is this going? And I am curious, how we as writers start events that are happening and actually chronicle them in a meaningful way that makes sense to the most people in an entertaining fashion to get to a conclusion that is satisfying. Because we're cats. Herding writers is like herding cats, and nobody is the same. How can we possibly have a community of people that tell stories and get from point A to point B to point C without having point Z in there somewhere?
There's a point Z.
How do we do this? How do we do all this? Apparently there is.
Well, see, I start with the letter G and then slowly make my way from A to Z.
Yeah, you can pretty much write whatever scenes you want, and then when you're done, you go, I didn't need that scene after all.
It's pretty true. Hey, I don't need the letter R. Throw that bitch out of here. That thing out of here. What are you going to replace it with? Tau. Because
you're going to use the symbol that Prince used when he changed his name.
Yeah, there you go. It's just going to be a symbol for, that stands in for an entire sentence. Yeah, that's what it's going to be. I would say for characters, if they're going to act oddly or you need them to make a bad decision, you better include their thought patterns in that or some explanation of why they think this is a good idea.
But we can't understand these people. I remember when I was young, when I had my first argument with someone about something that it was blindingly obvious that what they were doing was an incredibly badly thought out idea. And yet they thought it was good and went about their way of doing it while you're standing there watching the train wreck occur. And you're going, how can they possibly even think this? How did this happen? This is impossible. No one is that stupid.
Because what they see in their heads is not the way the world works. Ignorance, pride, arrogance. Those 3 factors, any 3 in the combination with some somebody who's really intelligent can be some of the most dangerous stuff ever and lead to so many complications. It's like somebody seeing that they could make some kind of power source, whatever, that's going to provide free, clean energy and everything else. But in the process of doing it, it's going to completely wreck the environment. And they don't think about that because it's not important to them. They're so focused on solving the power source problem that the disaster they leave in their wake just doesn't even, make it to their mindset. How do those people shut that off? How come they can't see that? How come they don't care? It is kind of all wrapped up in that. And and sadly, that's the way a lot of human beings work. It's the way governments work. It's the way businesses work. There's all these sociopathic tendencies, which is, it doesn't matter what the ramifications are. I get what I want.
There is, even when you're doing something that is utterly destructive, there can be thoughtfulness about the process and understanding of what you're doing. Yes. And the phrase that comes to mind is, I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. For those of you that don't have the historical reference to that, it was said by the folks that developed the nuclear bomb. I forget which one.
Oppenheimer.
I think it was Oppenheimer that said that. I am become death, the destroyer of worlds. He knew what he was building. They all knew what they were building. They knew the consequences of what they were doing. And they did it anyway. As opposed to someone that develops the way to build antimatter and blows up a small town because it got loose. which hasn't happened yet, folks.
Yet. I noticed you said yet.
But it's conceivable that it could happen.
What happened? Why was your Tuesday so bad? Fucking neighbor opened a portal to hell. It was a fucking mess. Insurance is not going to cover it. Oh my God.
He didn't mean to open the portal to hell. It was just, a macro in Word, but God damn it.
That's what happens when you start programming using the Necronomicon language. Yeah, there you go. That's all part of the character of how they see the logic and how they put it together. And their thoughts, whether they're expressed internally or through dialogue, give you hints about the kind of person they are, the kind of decisions they make, and the kind of things that are important to them. And as a writer, that allows you so much leeway because you can hide certain aspects, but hint at them. And maybe the other characters are so uninvolved or not paying attention, or not, that they just don't understand the import of what's being said. When it finally reveals itself, it's a shock to the characters, not necessarily a shock to the readers. But to plant that ignorance, you kind of have to be a little bit tricky about it.
Or you could just go the bad boys route. Huh, what you gonna do when they come for you? If you're not wearing a shirt out in public, you may have some problems with your decision-making tree.
Yeah, just maybe. Just maybe. It's all part of perspective. It's a part of norms, mores, and taboos. It's a part of how this person logically puts together things. If you ask a quote unquote normal person who experiences emotions, has empathy,
Joe Average,
and say solve a problem with no parameters, chances are they're not going to come up with a plan that involves the death of people to get something done.
Probably not. Hopefully not.
You put that in front of a sociopath, anything goes. Anything goes.
Well, I might take a little bit of a difference with that. With a sociopath, he may not care who he hurts, but a sociopath isn't necessarily a killer. There are plenty of sociopaths that are not killers.
No.
Their plans might not involve killing anyone, but they could ruin a lot of things while still avoiding murdering anybody.
All right, I'll be more accurate since you're going to be pontificate about this. Be so pedantic.
It's what I do. I'm a writer.
A normal person will try and minimize risk to others. A sociopath doesn't give a shit. Is that better?
The parameters of a sociopath are different because their view of the world is different.
Yes. Yes.
Can you imagine a world where everyone is a sociopath?
I think I'm living in that world, actually.
Yikes. Maybe you should move down here to League City.
I was talking about Texas in general.
You know, I've heard things about the Woodlands. I hadn't heard about their high sociopath population, though.
Do you know how many people in this neighborhood are, you know, higher ups in corporations, and this really shocks you? There'd be sociopaths in this neighborhood.
I hadn't thought about that, but now that
you bring it up,
now that you bring it up, you know, I guess maybe I'm not so surprised after all.
I didn't lose power. I wonder why. Got to keep the Woodlands small lit, baby.
I didn't even, really, you know, it was Wednesday before I realized that the stores over here still had power. I didn't realize that they had power and were still on. I'm like, oh, okay.
Capitalism at its finest. Anyway, that's a completely different animal. But if everybody was a sociopath, you can't have that. That society would not function at all.
It might be interesting to write a short story in Sociopathville.
Yeah, I can see that, where basically they plop down all the sociopaths in the same area and say, have fun. Oh boy, that would be a train wreck.
There could be a suburb called Megalomania.
Megalomania. And every day it's got a new megalomaniac in charge who killed the last megalomaniac.
Because he was obviously incompetent, because I am, of course, better
exactly.
than he was.
Exactly. Even though you have the same exact misunderstanding of what you're actually trying to do, that's not important right now. I'm going to fail better. How can I fail worse? Fails epically worse.
Yikes. Yikes.
I feel like we've had that in our politics for about 40 years now. Anyway.
It's really gotten bad in the last 15 to 20.
Let's not even get started on that. the bottom line is dysfunction at that level is organizations, it's people, because organizations are made of people, unfortunately. That's probably that's most of their problem. But it does change how things work. And it's just like if you have a character who's a bureaucrat. Oh my God, the steps to do just to get a glass of water could be kind of crazy, because there has to be process, you know, somebody who's OCD, this has to be a list and we have to follow it to the letter.
Well, it gets even funner than that when you start talking about bureaucracy, because often it's not just the convoluted process you have to get there. It's the exemptions that somehow get introduced into the system so that, oh, this other thing, it's allowed under the rules.
Right.
Where it makes no sense that anyone would allow something stupid like that.
Yes, you can ride your donkey down the downtown street while naked. That is completely permissible. What? Why did anybody even think they needed to pass a law allowing this?
You know, it's really interesting to go through the list of outdated laws that are no longer enforced, and look at some of the bizarre ones that are sitting out there. It makes you wonder, okay, what exactly came up to drive this law?
Right. Laws are usually drafted because somebody somewhere did something so egregious that we had to say, all right, this is common sense that this is bad, but because you don't understand what common sense is, we now have to write a law and enforce it. This is a problem.
JR said that it's a Texas law, and I haven't, of course, looked it up to see whether this is true, but I wouldn't doubt it, that it is illegal to own more than 6 dildos for recreational purposes.
That would not surprise me.
It would not surprise me at all. It would
also not surprise me that fucking piece of shit. Anyway, that notwithstanding.
Mark, this is a spot to be cut. We don't want to bring modern politics into this.
You've got the barbed wire cut, the wire cutters in the back pocket.
Yep.
If you're stolen,
damn horse thief, cattle thief.
Yeah, I think you can still be hung for horse theft in Texas. I could be wrong.
I would not be at all surprised if there's still laws there, but more modern laws have superseded
usurped it.
those.
Usurped it. because the way things are enforced now and everything else. But yeah, horse theft, I believe cattle rustling still a hanging offense. But they would get you for something else. They would just get you for theft.
It's hard to go through and clean up the role of laws, because you're going to have orphans that sit there from hundreds of years ago that you go, okay, that's peculiar.
You may not wear a hat on Sunday in this town.
Yeah, things like that. Things that you're like, oh, okay, sure.
And does anybody enforce that? No, because even the cops are wearing hats. Turns out, the mayor once upon a time was a really big fan of the safety dance by Men Without Hats and said, Sundays there will be no hats.
There's a rule for you.
It's just like, I can't remember the name of the book. I really gotta look this one up. But the king gets offended by certain letters, and so starts making certain letters illegal for you to write in, and it's all told epistolary. So the letters start out one way, and by the end of it, it's just like it's just such a crazy conglomeration of syllables. I know I just drove somebody nuts by saying it that way. I know I drove myself nuts, of syllables that barely make sense. And that's what they're reduced to, because it's like, oh, the letter E is now outlawed. So they keep taking away vowels and then consonants. They're only left with like this little tiny subset. And gee, communication breaks down. I'm shocked.
Have you ever played telephone? Is that the right name for this thing? Where you whisper something to somebody and they whisper to somebody else. And you get
until it comes
30
back
people
around
down.
to you. Yep.
Till they get to the end and you hear what the difference is between what you've been passing on. People can mangle anything.
There's a fantastic scene in one of Michael Keaton's early movies called Johnny Dangerously, which is a fucking hilarious flick. But there's a whole gag they do about this in the prison, where somebody whispers something very specific. By the time it gets to Johnny, it has nothing to do with anything. And he understands it.
It's an 88 Magnum. Shoots through schools.
Don't hang me on a hook, Johnny. My mother hung me on a hook once.
God, what was his name?
Miss Joe Piscopo.
What was the character's name for the villain here?
Oh God, it was something awful, and I can't remember what it was either.
It'll come to be the name. But yeah, Johnny Dangerously is a great movie.
Oh, it's so bad. There are so many old actors in that from reruns. Skipper from Gilligan's Island is in there.
He was a cop.
I mean, yeah, he was
the dispatcher.
He was the dispatcher. Johnny is doing this and using this with shelf paper. Meet me at O'Halloran's. I'm buying.
Duckies and bunnies. Duckies and bunnies.
Oh God, such a fucking ludicrous movie. I remember going to the theater and laughing my ass off. My mom just didn't get it. But, what was I, 12? Anyway, yeah, great scene there. But that's also how military communications worked back in the if you think about it. Things get misunderstood all the time. Oh, you got to go look for it now, huh?
Danny Verman.
Danny Verman, yeah.
I remember that name. It was what a name.
Just
he was a
awful.
Scumbag.
I fulfilled my life's promise. I fulfilled what everybody's dreams about me. I've become a real scumbag.
You can't park there. That's handicapped. I am handicapped. I'm psychotic.
It's just great shit. And there's an example of people following their own logic tree based on what they want. And the things they will do to get what they want, and the people they will hurt to get what they want.
I saw a picture that said it was one of those parking spaces that said green vehicles only. Somebody parked their big old green truck in there.
Suddenly a garbage truck gets in there. Yeah, that's that kind of shit. Yeah.
It's not green. Yeah, it is. Right there. Eyes
that's
green. Right
that's
there.
Green. Don't use shorthand. Be very specific. Can I park a green bicycle there?
I get so mad at motorcycles that take up the entire parking space. Even though I know they have to, God, it makes me crazy. You ready to pull in? Oh, I can't pull in. There's a damn bike there. Golly.
It's not their fault. It's just the way it is.
It's just the way it is.
Nothing you can do about it because it's just all you can do is outlaw motorcycles. That doesn't seem like a good response to that little annoyance of yours.
No, the annoyance of the general population is not a reason to outlaw somebody being able to do what they want to do.
General annoyance.
In general. Yeah.
In general. And they want to start, pushing your car out of the parking space because they want your parking space. That might be an issue. You might not want to allow that to happen. Otherwise, you get the huge 4x4 F550,000, whatever humongous truck it is, basically looking at a smart car.
Takes up 4 parking spaces.
Yeah, it takes up 4 parking spaces and pushes all the cars out. Yeah, that right there. It's like when I went to Home Depot one time and I couldn't find a damn parking space to save my life. And there was maybe room in the lane for 1.5 cars because there were so many of them extended cab pickups that go on forever. They're like a flatbed trailer, but they're called a truck, a pickup truck. Yeah, that kind of shit drives me crazy. Makes me want to go get myself a big extended cab so I can be one of them assholes and block their shit too. Maybe that's why everybody's got one down here.
You see, you just don't understand how it works. Once you become one of them, you start thinking like them.
Oh, no, we can't have that.
Then you'll be like, oh, screw that damn Prius. I'm going to take up all 14 of these parking spaces.
Or like the fact that you can't see around the goddamn fucking tank that's in front of you.
I've been there. I'm like, driving this car. You're like, I can't see. Leave it out the window. I can't see anything. What's going on in front of this car? And then they've got their car on low beams, but it still feels like high beams because it's like roasting your eyes through the mirror.
I've got the new safety lights on. They're high beams. They put out 14 billion candles worth of power, blinding everybody.
Let me turn on my halogen high beams. The back of your car starts melting because of the energy transfer.
Oh, you got some sun. Yeah, there was some asshole following me on a dark road for about 5 miles. His high beams melted my license plate.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, there are some times that it's like that. Again, we're back to decision trees. People believe that those are the appropriate decision trees to go down. And then everybody on the outside goes, what the fuck were they thinking? I've looked at some of these cars. And I'm like, how do you even get in them? They're like 14 feet off the ground. You got to have like this little drop down elevator thing to lift you up so you can get in.
What do you do with that?
I don't know.
I'm serious. What the fuck do you do with it besides monster truck rallies? I guess you go mudding, but how is that thing stable at all?
I don't know. When they're going down the road, those mud tires are going,
oh, jeez.
You can't hear anything because there's like noise everywhere.
Oh, my God.
I saw a truck that it was coming back from going mudding once. It was on a trailer, and I literally could not tell what color it was. It was mud colored. It was mud colored. I could not tell what color was underneath that because it had mud everywhere.
If you're going to do that to your vehicle, you probably don't really give a shit about the paint job. What color is it? I don't know. I bought it 10 years ago and it's been mudding so many times, all the paint's gone.
It's rust colored.
No, it's primer.
It's primer. It's primer and Bondo. That's all it is.
Primer and Bondo will fix anything. I bet you money the ISS has a big supply of Bondo.
It would not shock me. Would not shock me at all. But this is a good illustrative point to where once decision trees in your community of fellow whatever you are diverge from everyone else, people will look at your decisions and go, how did you get here? And where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm going to use a welding torch to unfreeze my pipe.
Some people do these things.
I can give you five reasons why that's a bad idea, but okay, go ahead.
Some people do these things.
Or I can rewire this lamp without turning off the electricity.
Oh my God, that reminds me of a picture that I saw on the internet. It was a electrical service panel, and somebody had taken and spray painted around a set of shoes. So there was a black mark all around what was shoes. It says electrician wanting training required. Underlined.
I saw, I'm sure it's fake and bullshit, but somebody put this tweet out saying that there's a dead cockroach in the stairwell. And everybody just kept walking by it. And so somebody left a card for the dead cockroach. And now it's got an entire shrine around it in the stairwell. People left teddy bears, get well cards, tombstones for this dead cockroach, which is still there.
You know, once you start going down that route, you're not going to fix the problem. You just want to highlight how ludicrous it is and make it worse.
It's kind of a call out to the building managers. Will you guys fucking get your shit together? When's the last time you cleaned this stairwell? Oh God, it was just, yeah, I could see developers doing that. I could see entire software developers doing that. Just make a shrine. Oh God, that's too funny. Things people do, man. Odd responses, convoluted thinking for whatever reason. Yeah, those are the fun characters to work with.
So how do we keep our stories from getting, or do we care about them getting off on their own tangents like that?
I think it just kind of depends on what story you're writing, and that you have to handle it so they don't come off like a mustache twirling supervillain. If they're
unless you want a mustache twirling supervillain.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I can make generalizations, but basically, we all know that sky's the limit. You can go anywhere you want. It just depends on what kind of story you're writing and what kind of character that is. But I don't like mustachio twirling villains unless they're in the street. And even then, I don't make them so mustachioed. I've tried not to make them that mustachioed. I like villains who are a little bit more down to earth and not so boastful at all, because boasting doesn't accomplish anything for them. Nothing. Because it's not about their ego. They're not going to sit there and dialogue with you and tell you all the things that are going to happen. No, we're not going this James Bond route. It's not my kind of villain.
There's a website dedicated to that, of list of things that you should not do as a supervillain.
I can't remember if it was Michael Plus did. I'm sure somebody will correct me. There was like a handbook of how to be an evil genius or something like that I'll have to go look up now. Or supervillain. I can't remember how it works. It was an old podcast. It's probably still around if you go looking for it. I can't remember who did that though. Doesn't matter. They've got this whole they have this whole list of things you have to do if you're going to be a supervillain. And then there's a list of all the things you shouldn't do as a supervillain. It's like when they asked the Monarch, what the hell is the Monarch from Venture Brothers? What is your problem? What is your ultimate? What are you out to take the world over? He's like, I leave that for the Republicans. I'm out for vengeance. That was so fucking funny. But basically, it was like, at least he's self-aware enough to know that his whole existence is about destroying the Venture family. That's his whole existence is at that point. That's what he's aimed at. And the reasoning why he wants to do this doesn't matter how convoluted or stupid it is. That part doesn't matter. It matters that is his focus, and that he will do whatever it takes to eliminate them.
I'm reading a series of books. I'd have to look up the title of it. I don't have it on hand. But one of the characters in it is not a good man. He's a spy master for an evil king, and he does bad things. And eventually, as the story goes on, he takes steps to try to do things to make the world a better place. according to his own logic. And predictably, something goes wrong. And now he's stuck with the heroine trying to undo what he did. Everything that he tried to accomplish is now in the process of unfolding in these stories. And he doesn't want to be riding that tiger anymore. As the story goes on, you find out he's a very complicated person who does bad things because he has to, but has a walled off part of his life where he knows what he's doing is wrong. And he knows he's doing it for certain reasons. And he's not stupid enough to try to justify it to himself. It is it's an interesting character. And even though I felt like stopping reading for a couple of times, I keep reading because I want to see where that character goes. He is very complicated, and I like going through what he's going through with him.
In Dragonlance, we watched the fall of Raistlin, and then we see him do something really bizarre. He's narcissistic, he's nihilistic, and all these other things, and very, very aggressive about his own future. But then he meets a lowly gully dwarf, which are scum of the scum, and he helps her and actually befriends her. And it totally changes the way you look at the character. And that's what makes that character kind of fun to see where they're going to go, because there is that massive thrall of evil around them, so to speak. But the bottom line is there's lines they won't cross. And there are things they will do to help people. And then there are the terrible things they will do to get what they want. Notice I didn't say need, I said want. Two different things. So I think that does make the character complicated, adds texture to it, and also allows you to build in more internal conflict. And also bring them to that vaunted place where they have to make a decision to go whole hog and fuck everything up to get what they want, or back off. Or do something different. You know, I get away if we close this portal, but if you close this portal, so many people die, and I've been trying to get out of here for so long and I can't do it. All right, what can I do? Close the portal. That makes a big difference. And suddenly that character is the hero, even though they've been the villain the whole freaking time. It's all perspective. What are you doing?
Trying to find the title of that book and the author since I was doing it, but I can't find it easily.
Well, you'll have to find it after we cut off the episode.
Yeah, if I could have found it, in the process of it. It's a 4-book series that I bought as a box set, and I'm in the middle of the 3rd book. It's been interesting reading it on my Kindle while, the power's all out. Yeah.
I love complicated characters. I like them to have those issues. I like them to know their own, or at least be somewhat self-aware of their own hypocrisy in how they deal with things, how they rationalize it, and how maybe they don't bother to rationalize it. Is there self-awareness or is there not? And those are two different characters, just by self-awareness. Somebody who doesn't see that most of the problems that are in their life are, they've caused themselves. They want to find somebody else to blame for it, even though pretty much every decision they made was a bad one because they were the one making the decision, not because those were the only decisions available. So it's those are where the fun characters come in, and I think the best books have those conflicts. Those are the books that interest me the most. So there, I've said it.
Do you ever intentionally set out to write a character that's so convoluted?
Short stories, yes. Short stories, absolutely. Novels, not so much. I may have an idea, but sometimes I don't know where I'm going to take that character. And I don't even know if it's going to be someone that I always know what the protagonist and antagonist is, so to speak, but the other folks, I don't really know where they fit. And usually I try and have my main characters have some kind of neuroses or some kind of part of their history that makes their thinking a little wonky in some areas. Those are good points to have.
I think I found it here. See if it still is up here. Nope. Let me get the cover back here.
I just see chapter 9. That's all I saw.
I know that's my problem, is that I went ahead and was opening it.
And now we have cat number 4.
Kitty number 4 says, "What do you mean? Here I is." I'm trying to get it to work.
This is why we can't have nice shows where Paul doesn't have to do a lot of editing. Chronicles of Pelennor
by Meg Crowley.
Crowley. Cowley, maybe.
Cowley. Cowley.
Okay.
But yeah, it's very entertaining, very different than your usual high fantasy.
Cool.
And still very much the same as a lot of your regular high fantasy.
I think all high fantasy kind of has some things in common. Just like also space operas have some things in common, just like all horror, thriller, suspense books have some things in common.
She's over here reaching around, smacking my headphones. Give me love, Dad. Give it to me now.
That's what she does. Well, since Minnie's being so needy, perhaps we should close out the show.
Perhaps we should. Minnie, do you have anything to add?
Purr.
Well, folks, if you would like to take us through the torturous logic of your lives for your, designing your own personal stories, send us a note at show@deadrobotsociety.com. You can find Paul on Twitter at Paul_E_Cooley when he has internet connectivity. You can find me on Facebook, where I also run the Listeners of the Dead Robot Society Facebook group, where you can come and talk to all the other listeners that haven't, shot the middle finger up at Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg and are still there. You can find us on YouTube at DRS Podcast /YouTube, or youtube.com/DRS Podcast.
Thank you.
Right. We have to thank the good folks at podhoster.com for hosting the audio for our websites. You can also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/DRS Podcast, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get exclusive content, such as the $10 supporters get by having their names read.
And our $10 supporters, $10 patrons are supporters, athletic supporters. Andrew Smallwood, Chris Moody, Chris Winder, Isabel Cushy, Jacob Patrick, Rick Shaw, Summer Wilson, Tony Eljoy, and Veronica Jaguar. Thank you very much, patrons. Thank you to all of our patrons. Actually, we need to do a live show for February.
We do need to do a live show.
Probably should do that next week.
I think we should.
Probably
next week,
should.
folks, live show, 3 p.m. Central, Saturday. Be here.
Yeah, the problem is this episode won't air until long after that because there's 3 in the can.
Well, damn it. Damn it.
Oh, shit. We'll make the announcements. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. And Terry and I are out of here.
Say bye-bye, Minnie.
That is just too damn cute. Seriously.
Bye, folks. We will see you next week.
Bye-bye.